finally, and I'm going to come to you after we play this. Kamala Harris, the vice president, came out yesterday and talked about and used the words immediate ceasefire. Can you play that clip for us, Farouk?
Given the immense scale of suffering in Gaza, there must be an immediate ceasefire. For at least the next 6 weeks, which is what is currently on the table.
So, Miracle.
This will get the hostages out and get a significant amount of aid in.
So, Miracle, again, this was something that a lot of folks have been organizing around, right? I was just at the memorial for our brother Harry Belafonte, and Angela Davis talked about an immediate ceasefire, and it got one of the biggest responses of the night. Now we have is this significant moment right now? Does the 6 weeks caveat take away from what she said? Is this because I know a lot of organizing led up to this, including the organizing in Michigan to have people vote uncommitted instead of voting for Joe Biden. Where does this land now? Is this too little, too late?
It's all the above, right? Because this idea that you get to have 6 weeks of life and then we're going to go back to killing you is highly problematic.
Right. That's very problematic.
And we need an immediate permanent ceasefire. And I think that the word ceasefire coming from the vice president is one. She has been the top federal official who has said on multiple occasions that what we're doing in Gaza is being ran the wrong way. And, she would know because of her work in California. She knows how to engage people. She knows how to, as she said, carry, the stick, whatever the thing is, give the carrot and the stick, right?
Yes.
That has been her whole MO. The problem with this is originally what they were touting was called a humanitarian pause.
Yes.
And so they wanted to get the hostages out, get humanitarian aid in, and Israel had already said that regardless of the hostages coming home or not, we're not stopping. We're going to keep fighting. And the argument is that the reason you want a permanent ceasefire is that it's going to be too much bloodshed.
Right.
Because at some point, this violence is going to move outside of Gaza.
Right.
We don't know if that means here in the United States, if it means in Lebanon, if it means in Syria, because they're already bombing, allegedly Hamas and Hezbollah, in Syria and Lebanon.
Right.
Or if it means in the place of Israel itself, there's going to be other attacks, right? We know there's been attacks in Gaza and the West Bank.
Yeah.
We know even here domestically, people have attacked and murdered Palestinian people, right? It's too much violence. And we have too much technology that is being solely engineered to kill people.
True.
That we're not even able to comprehend the type of violence and how much death. It's been over 30,000 people.
Right.
And all of these estimates are because we don't know where people are.
True.
Because folks are still under the rubble.
Absolutely.
Folks may have disappeared. It's so much violence that people really do not have an accurate accounting of who's died, who's missing, where the kids are. People don't know people's names. It's too chaotic. On top of that, what you have is an administration who said that there are no red lines, that there are basically no rules of war in this conflict.
Right.
And what people need to understand when that situation happens is money and weapons are shared in between governments.
Right.
And there's contracts that happen with that sharing of money.
Right.
And the sharing of weapons. The United States said, you know what? We understand terror. We understand you want to defend yourself.
Yeah, have at it.
You know what that meant? That meant if you wanted to bomb journalists, if you wanted to bomb teachers, if you wanted to bomb,
religious institutions, mosques,
Christian churches,
hospitals.
And one of the things, there's two things I want to make as I wrap up. One is they started to bomb with precision guided missiles the family members of doctors and lawyers and medics. Right. And they started to target them because they would not leave the areas.
Oh, wow.
And that's why, doctor, I always say it wrong, like Rafat, if I die, he was targeted because of his social media accounts.
Right.
You have Motaz, who left and was fleeing around, they basically said your account is getting too much attention.
Right.
You either leave or we're going to kill you.
Right.
And so what was people thought was a war against Hamas became quickly a war against people.
Right.
And that became an issue. On top of that, in the West Bank, what we're seeing is because they were doing these hostage swaps, Israel said, okay, we're going to release these 400 people, but then we're going to go arrest these 7,000. So our prisons are going to be full. So anytime we do a hostage swap, we'll have enough people in our prisons to say we still have Palestinians being held.
Right.
And so it is now encapsulated people from all over the world.
Right.
And all of these organizations are now like, what do we do? Because even here in Pittsburgh, there were organizations that were teaching youth in Gaza how to do tech, how to do coding.
Right.
So there were and when those got bombed, it was like, okay, so now what is my business going to do?
Right.
We have people who are like, we had contracts, we were trying to bring professors over. Now what are we going to do? Yeah. And you really kind of saw Biden and be like, I don't care. Yeah. And then you saw Michigan.
Yeah. And I think too with Biden, it is a thing of like, it's weird to watch it from the outside looking in because Netanyahu is somebody who's never expressed the support for Biden or the administration anyway. Right. But to just allow them to do anything and whatever with like no type of condemnation at this point. And with the thing of almost like you're like your hands are tied. How when you're the world's greatest superpower, it just makes a lot of that rhetoric about like you care about people and people's lives as we're like watching people just starve to death, and then now it's like we're gonna airdrop aid when there's trucks there full of food, and you can kind of say to Israel, hey, look. You're not getting this level of support unless we allow this food to go in, and that's that. And it just seems like the unwillingness to do that, makes the administration not only look weak, but hypocritical when it comes to these supposedly I care for humanity stances. It's like, how can you watch a massacre of people wanting to get food, and then, like, where's the response to that? It's like mind-boggling, and then it's like, oh well, vote for us because we're going to improve your life. It's a fascinating thing to watch. Like you try to like wiggle around all of these, contradictions.
Yeah, and I think also the problem with the Biden administration is, and we've said this before, these governments are so one-sided. They are not wrestling with the idea that we are a global society at this point.
1,000%.
Largely because of their policies.
Right.
But we are a global society, and so we're all connected. And when the United States uses its veto at the UN for the past 4 years to protect Israel, you're creating these situations where people are now saying, well, this government is not where I can go to raise the issue or concern. And then that breeds the breeding ground for terrorism and violence. And what we are saying, we're not saying, be best friends with Hamas, right? That's not, that has never been
1,000%.
like our platform. This idea is you have to engage communities and you have to give people hope and you have to find ways for people to live, whether it is in Syria, Lebanon, Argentina, even the president of Venezuela was like, if you're tired of immigrants coming to your countries, stop the sanctions on Venezuela and Cuba and let us live and let us take care of our own people,
let us thrive where we are.
This is these things that we're talking about is like, why do we have to be so involved in the way other nations run their countries solely based on the issue that they're communists and we're capitalists? If they are if the people have voted for different
if that's what they determine,
things, like, I don't care. But Russia being a communist is not really.
I'm not there. But it also, it's really like, is that really the thing? Because like, you're not messing with China. And it's because of China has the military power to not allow you to come, and they have economic might. And so again, it's this thing, but to say like, it's actually now it's like harming. Now the Ukraine is actually suffering because of your unwillingness to take a humanist stance in this situation. Now, when you start talking about the Ukraine, the people are like, what? Well, you're okay with Israel doing this, but not Russia. So it weakens their whole thing, and it is made, and when you include like Joe Biden, like, because of his age, looking frail, it just makes it look horrible.